So 6 of the 7 Canadian NHL teams could probably convince themselves to be buyers ahead or at the NHL trade deadline, given where they are in the standings. The 7th and the team that's likely selling, the Ottawa Senators. It hasn't been the best of seasons for them, but the light at the end of the tunnel for them is that they'll probably get 2 high draft picks to end this year, given where they are and the San Jose Sharks are in the standings. So ahead of the trade deadline, we've been asking for teams' optimal trade pick. Like, what player would make that team go over the top considering their situation? We're going to do something a little different here with Ryan Dixon. You can hear him on the Tape to Tape podcast, by the way, and see his work on sportsnet.ca. We're asking, of the Senators' assets, Ryan, which one would be the most optimal in garnering a decent return for a team that is clearly rebuilding?
Well, I think it's got to be Jean-Gabriel Pageau. I mean, he plays a prime position at center. He has a track record of being a very dependable two-way guy. He is someone who I think other teams would look at and say, you know, even the best of teams are often looking for some help down the middle, some depth guys, and I think he's someone who can slide into a third line. He's having a career year. You're not trading for this guy because you think he's going to light the lamp, right? That he's going to come in and really, really stimulate the offense, but he's a very responsible player. He's a guy you could see going head-to-head with the other team's best player in key situations in a playoff series, killing penalties, just being a very good, solid, all-around citizen for your team, and chipping in a goal here and there.
Well, we know some of the playoff successes that he has with the Senators.
Absolutely.
And I'm sure the Rangers remember that as well.
Sure.
If you're Pierre Dorion, what do you want back for Pageau? What is the return that you're hoping makes your fan base feel a little bit more justified after having moved on from a guy that's been there for a long time?
Well, you referenced the fact they already have the San Jose Sharks first-round pick in their back pocket. They have their own. They have a ton of draft picks in general. If I'm Dorian, I'm sniffing around maybe for guys who are already drafted, prospects in another organization that might be ready to play, maybe as ready or as soon as next October, but certainly guys who are maybe 19, 20 and can fit into your club sooner rather than later, rather than a draft pick. I don't think you would get another first for Pageau. It would feel more like a second perhaps. So if I'm Dorian, I'm saying, listen, I know you're not going to give me your best prospect for Pageau, but let's talk about the next tier of guys, and is there someone in there that I can add to my list of prospects who might be ready to help me sooner rather than later?
I know it's been tough of late for a guy like Anthony Duclair, who started the season incredible, an all-star berth, well-deserved as well. I imagine that's another guy, given the contract situation, they'd maybe try to move and garner an asset for, you think?
Well, I mean, it's almost easier to cross off the guys who they for sure are keeping rather than who might get traded, because there's so many guys who are UFA or RFA. But Duclair is very interesting. Yes, he's mired in a scoring slump. I mean, if you're Ottawa and you think you can still get the player at a good number, I think he's probably someone worth keeping around, but you're going to get some calls based on what he's seen. So that's going to be, I mean, the UFAs tend to be a bit of an easier decision. A guy like that who's still young, that's going to be a tougher call.
We're not going to leave this all negative. Again, it hasn't been the greatest season on the ice for the Ottawa Senators. No many didn't expect it to be, considering you know, the players that they have and the coaching change. And again, 2 really high draft picks.
They're a rebuilding team.
Yeah, and there's a lot of good assets there. But if you could leave the fan base, the team, with a positive this season, what would that be? What have you liked about the Ottawa Senators this season?
Well, I would have said Duclair up until about a month ago when he fell off a cliff a bit. But I like the makeup of some of the guys they already have, like a Shabbat. I mean, Brady Tkachuk, you go back to that year where maybe they were going to punt on that pick in the Matt Duchene trade with Colorado. And taking Brady Tkachuk sure looks like a win.
Oh, yeah.
You look at some of the guys they already have in the system coming up through Belleville already. I just feel like if you're an Ottawa fan and you can kind of put the off-ice noise we've heard for a couple years out of your mind a bit and just focus on what's going on in terms of, even look how well the San Jose pick has worked out. I mean, that could be very tasty for that team with a little draft lottery luck. So I do think pieces are in place, and there's more coming to get the team to be competitive. It's just, as you said, it's a bit of a slog right now.
I'll tell you this, take it from a guy that's been around the Senators for each of the last few trade deadlines. It won't be quiet in Pierre Dorian's office. Expect the Sens to be active and selling to garner some more assets. That is Ryan Dixon.